Hey guys, what's going on? Melon back again, and I was looking at my collection, my main collection binder that I've shown off many times on this channel, and I was looking through it, and there was something that wasn't quite right. So I've showed this off before, so I'm not going to go over every last detail, but here are my monarchs. You can check out videos where I've shown this off. Got some Cyber Dragons, some Chaos Emperor Dragons. These are, most of my favorite cards. My Ghost Rares, Rainbow Dragon, there it is. Ultimate Rares, so I've got Star Eater, Garlandolf, and Heart Earth Dragon, and then some more Ultimate Rares that I really like. You've got some low levels right here. Cyber Dark Dragon, very, very cool card. Armed Dragons right here. So you can see there's generally a theme where I keep cards in the right spots. Here are my spells, and then we move on from my spells, and then you see my traps. And then on this side you have counter traps. On this side you have some virus cards, Magic Cylinder, which is my favorite trap of all time, and then Ring of Destruction, another one of my favorites. And then from there you get to some secret rares. So here, Tongue Twister and Lich Lord, King of the Underworld are some of my favorite secrets. You have the versions of the cards that I had as a kid. So you've got Mobius the Frost Monarch, super rare. Actually, I had an unlimited ultimate rare and a super rare, but that's besides the point. Secret rare from the tin, and then the special edition from Lost Millennium came with Chaos Emperor. But in the final page, and this is sort of my most recent addition, for some reason I felt inclined to add quarter century secret rares, which I like. The quarter century secret rare, it's very shiny, it's very attractive, and one of the best parts of it as a collector is that there are just so many of them, so you can build basically any collection binder you want out of them. But I just feel like they don't fit. I don't know, maybe this is just the most collector thing imaginable where you're fretting over the smallest detail, but they're cool and I want to collect them. But this page just feels so out of place in a binder where most of the other pages are sort of classic. I mean, look at this. You've got Metal Raiders First Edition, Solemn Judgment. Very, very cool card, but does this card fit in the same binder next to super, super shiny Mirror Force? I don't know. For me, I just get this feeling that while these cards are really, really cool and I still want to collect them, this just isn't the way that I want to move forward in this binder. And this is also, spurred on by the fact that I have a TP2 morphing jar that I've purchased and is on the way. I unfortunately can't show it off today. But I am still going after quarter century secret rares. I have a full binder of them and I can, show that off. But I am just trying to replace the entirety of this page. TP2 morphing jar is going to be somewhere here, and I've started to pick up some champion pack stuff like champion pack Spirit Reaper, and then some other cool stuff. But I don't know why, but this just doesn't feel like it's in place. And so in the grand scheme of things, I feel like generally, I'll talk about Genesis, which was recently announced, and that I think is a very exciting thing. But I feel like the market and positivity surrounding the collecting space for these cards is almost, it's not in the best place. People are not super enthusiastic about the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! And understandably so. And for me, in this sort of lull, I'm a collector who's been collecting for over 5 years, and I have a lot of stuff that, I've checked off a lot of my goals, if you will. And there's this shiny new stuff, but it just doesn't feel right to be mixed in with things from other eras in a way that I'm willing to mix DM and GX. I just can't see myself mixing in this stuff. And so I've gone back and looked at, if you take away the quarter century secret rares, I'm still picking them up because they're so cheap. If you take a look and take a step back from the quarter century secret rare, what are some of the things that I have enjoyed collecting? And just for the sake of starting things off with some heat, I've started to go after some of the older secret rares to pair up with, basically I'm going to try to do a page of first edition Dark Armed Dragon, first edition Judgment Dragon, and so I'll try to get play sets of these, and then Light and Darkness Dragon. So it'll probably look something like this, where you can imagine a play set of each of these cards. Unfortunately, you can see 3 of these still have the plastic on them, and that's for good reason. Unfortunately, I bought these all together. It was a really incredible deal. And then 3 of them were in like lightly played condition. This was the only one that was actually in the condition that I bought them for. And so this is a beautiful, beautiful card. Light and Darkness Dragon. It's kind of like the forgotten GX Dragon, but this is out of... I honestly forget the set, but it's the first printing in the TCG. Really, really cool. Just an incredible card here. So, going to try to finish off a playset. This card is expensive, but not crazy expensive. Whereas, you start looking at Dark Arm Dragon, Judgment Dragon, those ones run you huge, huge amount of money. Actually, I'll try to get the Judgment Dragon out, because that one has the most messed up plastic. So I'm shipping these back for a refund, but I'll just go after Judgment Dragon. And so I'm going after stuff that I think, given the lack of enthusiasm and the fact that Edison is no longer a thing, I think there, some of these GX and early 5Ds cards are a bit less desirable at the moment. They're still obviously bangers, but beautiful Judgment Dragon. What an awesome card. You can see there's a little bit of an indent. I don't know how well it'll pick up, but anyways, really, really awesome card. And so I'm going to try to pick up more of these style of cards, just these classic bangers that I don't currently have in the binder. It's weird, like, I don't know why I haven't gone after these Judgment Dragons and these Dark Arm Dragons. They're pretty iconic cards that I do like the look of, and so I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward is really start to go after some of the more classic stuff. I feel like too much, there's quarter century secret rares have just been too much of a good thing, and I think it's time. My interest in certain collectibles sort of waxes and wanes, and I think it's time for me to go back to GX and Duel Monsters and maybe a little 5Ds to pick up some of the bangers that I would like in my binder, but for one reason or the next, I haven't ended up picking up over the years. And so you can sort of see the beginnings of that collection starting to materialize. And then I've been picking up other stuff as well. Like, I honestly don't even know why I picked this up. It was just a good deal, and I liked it. You can see Eradicator Epidemic Virus, first edition out of Force of the Breaker. Just another one of these absolute stunners. Beautiful, beautiful card. Love this thing. So I've really just been going after these kind of first edition secret rares from the GX era. That's been my priority for the moment. But, as mentioned before, I'm still picking these up. It's just I'm going to sort of move all of these quarter century secret rares into my other binder where I've focused on quarter century secret rares. It's just that I think I'm losing a bit of steam going after quarter century secret rares. And even beyond these, I guess I can show these off a little bit later. I've also gone back to collecting collector rares, especially ones that were expensive and I still think are pretty cool, but I couldn't justify spending, $100 on a Bonfire collector rare when it was super playable and all the value came from its playability. Since then, this has gotten a quarter century secret rare, a prismatic collector rare. Each of these, I bought a playset, cost, like $3 or so. And at that price, I'm willing to go in. It probably will fall even more, but still, I mean, look at the texture on this thing. There's a reason that I fell in love with these collector rares. It's just really, really incredible. And given that they keep reprinting this stuff, I don't see any signs of... if they keep printing collector rares, I'm going to keep waiting for them to just reprint them in prismatic collector rare or quarter century secret rare, or, well, I guess now Starlight rare, and then continue my collection of these collector rares, because these are very fun for me to collect. Here's another, I think I already have one of these. It's an astrograph sorcerer. Very cool. It's a pendulum, which means that it won't be playable in the new Genesis format, which I think Konami read the room. There's a lot of doom and gloom surrounding, I think, collecting and playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now. So Genesis format, I think, will be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Here's Runic Fountain, another one of those ones that super playable, but then got some reprints, and this collector rare that was once very expensive is now, you know, a couple of bucks. So that means it's time for me to swoop in. I'll move away from this binder right now and then move over to my collector rare binder. So I'll put this guy away. But let me know what you guys think about quarter century secret rares and starlight rares and some of the modern ones. Are you guys feeling a bit of fatigue surrounding these? Because, you know, I look at my collection and they just keep releasing more and more. It's impossible to ever collect everything. And so, see here, some Dark Magician stuff on both of these pages. I reorganized this a bit. Before I had like Dark Magician on one side and then Blue Eyes on the next, but I realized I was just running out of room. There's too many quarter century secret rares to collect, and so I had to just make a 2-page or 18 slots for just Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, and then you can see that I'm starting to do Blue Eyes on 2 pages as well. You can see my Monarchs, very nice, and Exodia. Very cool. And so, like, when I look at this, it's not as if I look at this and I say, wow, these cards suck. No, I mean, that's not my reaction at all. These cards are really cool. They just, you know, if I put Eradicator Epidemic Virus right here, oh, besides the fact that it's not a Monarch card, and, okay, it does not want to stay, but besides the fact that it's not a Monarch, it feels out of place. These other cards are just too shiny. I don't know, maybe it's shineflation, but every new card is just so shiny that I feel like it can't fit in a binder with some of the vintage stuff. I don't know. And so I think it's pushing me a little bit away from some of this very shiny new stuff. Got some Elemental Heroes. This is one of my biggest gripes about the quarter century secret rare, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, is that they like start a certain collectible thing where they put Flame Wingman, they put Thunder Giant, and then they don't finish the job. Like, you had so many slots of quarter century secret rares. You're telling me you couldn't have done Bubble Man, Clayman, Sparkman, Avian, Burstinatrix, and then a couple more of the fusions? Like, I don't think anyone's playing Thunder Giant. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like they didn't finish the job on a lot of these. Got some Crystal Beast and Yubel stuff up top. Same situation with the Crystal Beast. Rainbow Dragon, Carbuncle, Sapphire Pegasus, which I don't have. Where are the remaining Crystal Beasts? So that, I think, was also a bit of a disappointment. And I'm not sure if they're planning on finishing the job with Starlight Rares, where they, you know, maybe they printed a couple in Quarter Century Secret and then are going to print the rest in Starlight. I don't know. I don't love the idea of mixing matching these rarities, even though they look so similar. Like, you know, these ones have the stamps, they have the sort of gold lettered text, which is different than the Starlights, and so I don't know if I want to mix and match the Starlights. I have my Starlights in a separate binder, actually. So, we'll see where we go with that. This is kind of a similar style of what I'm planning to do, just not in Quarter Century Secret Rare. It won't be exactly this for sure, but ironically I'll have my TP2 jar, and then I have a CP5, I think, Spirit Reaper, and maybe I pick up more CP Spirit Reapers, maybe I do something else. I actually have a Thousand Eyes Restrict first edition out of Pharaoh's Servant, and I'm thinking of getting a first edition Magic Ruler Relinquished, and then I'll put Morphing Jar here, and then Thousand Eyes Restrict Relinquished, or some ordering of those, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to do Spirit Reaper, Spirit Reaper, Spirit Reaper, or something else. I still need to figure out the exact details. One place I will give them their flowers is with the Signer Dragons. So they did finish the job on the Signer Dragon. So here is my Power Tool Dragon, which conveniently finishes off one of the things that they did right with the Quarter Century Secrets. Although they didn't do all the Signer Dragons, and technically Power Tool isn't a Signer Dragon, but, you know, it is what it is. So you can see that, you know, they had Blackwing, Ancient Fairy, Power Tool, Red Dragon Archfiend, Stardust, Black Rose. Here are some of the other random ones. You know, it might have been nice to have Shooting Star or something like that, but, you know, I can't complain about every last detail. Some other Quarter Century Secret Rares. Here's a, you know, Light and Darkness, new versus old version. One thing is that I went after the yugioh 1 instead of the Retro Pack 2. The Retro Pack 2, I feel like it's not the original printing. It's the same rarity as the original printing, and it's just unnecessarily expensive, in my opinion. That might be a hot take, but I've never been the biggest fan of, like, DRO4 or Retro Pack, things like that. Not necessarily my favorites, and they're not like a tournament pack or something like that. I don't know, I've always just put those in a different distinction. Here's the one that I love, Needleworm. I'm actually thinking of getting the tournament pack ultra rare Needleworm. I haven't decided yet. That would be an expensive card, but maybe one that I'm willing to spend the dough on. We'll have to see. And then here is just a assortment. I've got some vanillas, some other random ones. This is one that I think there's a tournament pack, maybe champion pack, Snipe Hunter, that I'm also looking at. So we'll have to see what I end up doing. It's one of those things where I still don't know exactly what I want to collect, even 5 years in. You know, it's still dynamic. My main binder is always under flux, even when I say it's done. I've said it's done like 10 different times. I make a video on it, and then naturally in a couple of years, 1 to 2 years, I always make a new one because I'm like, oh, actually I added this and I removed that because of this reason. And even right now I'm looking at it and saying, maybe I need, this is one of my favorites from back in the day, maybe I need one of these out of a tournament pack in there. Some more random Quarter Century Secret Rares. It's impossible to like list off every last one. Some spells, some more spells, some traps, some Xyz, and then I think that's it. So those are my Quarter Century Secret Rares, but a lot of really fun ones, and pretty proud of these. And then I think that's all that I had to show off today. I mean, I already showed off the collector rares, which I explained are, you know, some of my favorites, and I'll continue collecting these. Let me know what you guys think. It's been Watomar Melon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.